the work is about to begin on the cabin. And so I thought I'd take a moment this morning and just enjoy the peace and the quiet and the solitude, because starting tomorrow, for the next 6 to 8 weeks, it's going to be pure chaos around here. And while I'm excited to have the work start and to have the work finished, I'm also saddened by it a little bit, just a little bit, because over the last couple of weeks, the forest has come to life. And I'm afraid that having all the workers here and the noise is going to disrupt that. Some of it it won't have any effect on. So the cabin backs up to a couple of volcanoes, and one of the volcanoes was letting off some steam the last couple of days. It's not an active volcano, so I'm not worried about it. It was pretty cool to see, though, nonetheless. And then there's been lots of moose around the property, though I haven't seen them. I just see evidence of their traipsing through the property. And there's a pack of wolves, or maybe coyotes, I don't know, around the cabin in the middle of the night about a week or so ago. And bears. The bears are definitely active. So right there you can see the outhouse, and then the cabin, of course, is between the two. There's just a little corridor there. And for whatever reason, the bears use that as a little pass-through. And there were some fresh bear tracks yesterday and scat. And then some scat here in front of the cabin on the other side of the cabin. And I'm not exactly sure why they like this area, but that's where I found most of the tracks last year, was right there. That's where I'm seeing most of them this spring. So it's very curious. I'm going to get a game camera and set it up right there, or a couple of them, one facing the cabin and one facing out, just so I can watch them. And there's no window on the Arctic entry facing that direction, so it's not like I can look out there and see if there's a bear right there. But once that becomes the main entrance for, wintertime and what have you, then I definitely want to have some way of checking out to see what's right there. I mean, currently I look out this big kitchen window that I have and look to see if there's an animal or, something out there, but I can't really see. I can only see so far because I can't see around the corner. So I'm pretty much just taking my chances every time I open up the door, hoping that there's not a bear, right there, just in the blind spot. I'm not worried about it. I know that most people would probably, be a little bit more uneasy about the fact that there's bears right outside their cabin door, but I'm not. And you can consider that foolish if you want. Typically, the bears are coming through very early in the morning, and I'm not up at that time. And so that doesn't really bother me. Do I worry about a bear trying to get in through the door? Not really. Is it a possibility that a bear would try to get in through the door? Sure. But I've got some pretty big firepower behind that door too. And I'm not afraid to use it. So if I had to, it's a possibility, but not a likely, but it's not very likely still. But I better get busy and get the things done that I need to do before the construction starts tomorrow. So I'm bringing you along for some of that. And, just show you what my preps for getting the cabin ready are going to look like. And some of it you might find hysterical because, you're going to see the inner 5-year-old in me come out. Come on, Kinnick, move. I don't normally invite strangers into my bedroom. Let me rephrase that. I don't ever invite strangers into my bedroom. But I'll make a special allowance in this instance because I need to show you something. So my sleeping quarters are currently on the main level of the cabin and open up into what's essentially the living room area or the living area. And I had to move things from the upper loft of the cabin since it'll be exposed to the elements once the roof comes off. So that meant my computers had to come down to the main level. And the only place really to set them up is on this built-in bookshelf. And so I have my editing computer and my work computer set up there. And I then had to allow myself some privacy since the cabin will be exposed to the elements and also to the roofers. And so therefore, I have turned my sleeping quarters into a glorified blanket fort. I'm trying to get as wide of an angle as I can. There's not much room in here for me to back up and show you things. And so, welcome to my humble abode. Oh, this cracks me up. I literally feel like a 5-year-old. So you can see that this is inside the cabin now, and there's the plywood that the roof is made of. On the other side of that is closed cell foam, and then there are the rafters and the beams that are running across that the log rafters are sitting on. All of that's going to be replaced with structural lumber and R38 insulation and a metal roof. But in the meantime, this is how I'm allowing myself a little bit of privacy so I have some decency should, something happen and I'm not awake by the time they start work over here. It should allow me a little bit of privacy so I can get some work done because my boss isn't going to be like, oh yeah, no worries, you got a roof going on. I completely understand. No, he's got deadlines. I've got deadlines and the work still has to get done. And because of my location, I cannot, I don't have a laptop either. I'm working off of a desktop. So I cannot just pack up and go stay at a hotel, and that would be very costly. So I stay here, the work gets done, I deal with it. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. But I think it's hilarious that I'm like a 5-year-old with my blanket fort. My kids are probably not surprised in the slightest. They're probably like, yep, that's mom for you. They know that I'm goofy enough to do something like this. So, but it has to be done. I need some privacy and I still need to get work done. So I'm relinquished to my bedroom. Basically I've been grounded. Just kidding. So I just returned from Fairbanks. I wasn't intending on going into town again. However, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, my 2 freezers that I purchased were absolutely stocked full, and I could not easily access the items that were inside of them. And so I needed to purchase an additional freezer to alleviate that situation and help organize things so that I could get to them. In addition, I was going to need the extra freezer space anyhow because I do have another order for meat from a butcher here in Alaska. And so that will need additional space that I currently just don't have. But I also wanted to take a moment to answer some of the questions that came up from that previous video. And one of the questions was, why do I feel the need to stock up for 6 months at a time? And the reason for that is because of where I'm located. I am located 5 hours from a major city. And yes, there is a decent sized town about an hour or so away from where I reside. However, the grocery store within that town is not as well stocked. And as I mentioned, it is over an hour away. And that means that it's greater than 100 miles an hour. 100 miles an hour. That means that it's greater than 100 miles round trip. And that's just not feasible to go into town to stock up on groceries, whether it's a weekly or a monthly adventure. That's too far to travel, in my opinion, especially with today's gas prices. And in the wintertime, I am not able to get off of my property. Now, part of that has been because I don't have a plow and my driveway is approximately about 1/5 of a mile long. And with that being said, some people have mentioned purchasing a snowplow to make that pass. But when your driveway is that long and you need to make several passes in order to clear a path large enough to get your vehicle out and to expand those walls so that they don't just keep getting more and more narrow as the winter progresses, that would take a very long time out of a person's day to do that. I do work a full-time job. I work from home, but my job is very demanding and I don't have the time to spend going out and snow blowing a driveway, especially when we can get back-to-back storms or an overnight storm that drops several feet all at once. For the wintertime, it is a vital necessity for my own security and safety that I stock up for the entire length of the winter. When I arrived here back in August of last year, I stocked up for a period of 8 months worth of time, knowing that it would be March or April before I would make it off the property again. And then I did go into town at the beginning of April, and I stocked up for a period of, again, about 6 to 8 months worth of food. And that is the reason why I do it. Now, a trip into Anchorage or even into Fairbanks, they're about equidistance from where I'm at. Those trips cost me $200 minimum in fuel just to make those trips. So I need to take full advantage of it when I'm in town. It doesn't, again, make financial sense to be making those multiple trips with today's gas prices and the time that it takes to get into town. It is roughly 10 hours driving time, and that doesn't include any time that you spend running from store to store or business to business to take care of the things that you need to take care of. So one of the other reasons that I ran into Fairbanks recently was my editing computer just was not able to keep up with me, and so I had to purchase a new computer. So fingers crossed that the new computer will work out and I'll be able to get my videos uploaded earlier on Thursday as opposed to midday, but that's yet to be seen because I still have a very weak internet connection. I'm on a DSL connection and that connection is many miles away, and my upload speeds are about 1 megabyte per second, and the connection is shoddy at best. So I do my best to make sure you guys get a weekly vlog. And speaking of this trip to Fairbanks, I did get some footage on my iPhone of that trip. However, the speaking parts, my AirPods were not working, and so the phone's microphone is what picked up all the sound, which meant it also picked up all the vibration from the vehicle. So instead of showing you that footage and having you deal with the poor audio on that, I will just take the scenic footage and I'll create a scenic drive video for you guys, which I'll upload either this Sunday or the following. And speaking of audio, you might be able to hear a hum in the air. That is due to the fluorescent light above my kitchen, and there's an electrical hum every time I turn it on. So I apologize for that noise as well. I'm not as familiar with the GoPro, which I'm filming on right now, and so that is my own fault. I will learn how to install a microphone on that so that I can cut out some of the background noise. So please accept my apologies, as I am still in a learning curve of how to film and edit. But nonetheless, I want to go ahead and show you the new freezer, and I want to show you what I've done so that you have an understanding of what I purchased to help me make it through a 6-month period or beyond. All right, let's go ahead and take a look in the freezers. I've already gone ahead and moved things around because I filmed this originally once on my iPhone, and yet my iPhone and the new computer are not talking to each other. I have to figure that one out too. So my other two freezers are Hot Points, 7.5 cubic foot. This one is a Magic Chef, and it's an 8 cubic foot freezer. And luckily this freezer came with 3 identical bins that fit a quart-sized Ziploc bag perfectly, stood up on end, and I was able to get 20 quart-sized bags in each one of these bins. And so now I'm able to dedicate each one of my freezers to a different purpose. This one here is holding all of the heavy cream, whole milk that I use for cooking with, heavy cream for my coffee, and any cheeses, breads, butter, and what else do I have in here? Oh, flour and sugar are also included in this freezer. Heavy cream for my coffee is just one of the luxuries that I afford myself. I'm not a big fan of black coffee. I don't put sugar in my coffee, but I do rely on the heavy cream, not only for the fat content, but for the calories that it provides. And when you're living out here, believe it or not, my eating habits did not change any from when I was in Colorado to here, but I definitely lost weight living here because the cold just causes your body to use up a lot more energy. You're doing a lot more physical activities, or at least I find that I was doing a lot more physical activities than I was when I was in Colorado, such as, bringing in wood and hauling water and so on and so forth. And so I need those calories, and fat is an excellent way of getting calories. Now, it's not an excellent nutritional value, but it does provide the calories that I need, and my nutrition then comes from the meat and the vegetables that I eat. And so let's take a look at those other two freezers. So this freezer is the one that I just emptied out of all of the dairy products, bread, sugar, and flour. And so right now it is only housing vegetables and fruits and some juices, as well as some ravioli, and some nuts, such as pecans and pine nuts. For right now, I'm good with freezing my vegetables, also because my cellar is not ready to be used at this moment. That will also be an upcoming video. However, the vegetables that I buy, I just divvy them up into not portion size bags, but I just cut them up into usable pieces. For example, this celery is chopped up and could be thrown into, say, a chicken salad or, some other dish that you want that crunch of the celery in. And so that's just diced and then put in a gallon Ziploc bag. I do the same thing with green onions. These are all just diced and thrown in a Ziploc. Bell peppers, I do the same thing with. I do buy pre-bagged frozen green beans. And then my leeks, I will cut up the white section of the leek, and that will get placed in a separate bag. When it comes to leeks, I save the greens of my leeks. I just cut them off. I wash them. I leave them, the length of whatever I cut off. I might cut them in half if they're super long. And then I just freeze these, and these will go into broths or soups for flavoring. A soup that you want that flavor, but you don't necessarily want the onion itself in there. The tops of the leeks make a great flavoring, and so I save them. And so I know there will be comments of somebody saying a leek is not an onion. However, I'm allergic to onions and garlic, and so I use leeks in place of a bulb onion. And it does provide that oniony flavor, that I couldn't otherwise enjoy. This freezer is all meat. Unfortunately, it's packed entirely full because when I was in Palmer, I picked up half a hog, as I'd mentioned previously. And so that is really preventing me from getting to the other cuts of meat that are in here. So I'm going to take all the pork and put that in the vegetable freezer because there isn't that many vegetables, and that'll help to just organize things a little bit better, and then I'll be able to get to the other cuts of meat such as chicken and duck and beef. And as far as how I purchase meat, I basically just purchased in the past whatever meat I happened to see at the grocery store that caught my eye. But now that I found a rancher here in Alaska and a processor, I'll be purchasing my pork and beef through them. And I might still raise ducks or chickens. I have not decided. That's yet to be seen. As far as what I buy in canned goods, I buy a mixture of canned goods and dry goods and supplement where need be. You might notice that there's a number of canned beans up here, but I also buy those beans in dry format. The canned beans are for quick and easy if I just need to make dinner, you know, in a rush, or if I need a quick lunch. You know, I might heat up a can of garbanzo beans, throw in some diced carrot, lemon juice, olive oil, salt, and call it done. But if I'm looking to, if I have the time and I'm making, say, a soup or something that I have the time to prepare in advance, then I will use the dried beans. Plus, the dried beans provide greater food stability in the time of, you know, if I were to run through these beans and not able to get out to a store, at least I would have the dried beans that I could rehydrate and use. Now, quantities that I buy, certain things like these canned peaches right here. These canned peaches were in a 4-pack. And so I just bought 3 of those, figuring that's 12. That's about 2 jars of peaches a month. And basically, I just think about things in portions of how many times would I likely eat something and what am I going to fix with it? Do I actually write out a grocery list? To be honest with you, I do not. Do I write out a list of other things that I need to pick up while I'm in town so that I don't forget? Yes. But when it comes to my food preps, I know what I'm going to eat. I know from, you know, just tracking it over the years, what my consumption patterns are and how much I go through something. And that's what I base all of my grocery needs off of. You can see that I purchased several cans of coffee, apple juice, more Ziploc bags. I know. And plenty of dog treats for Kenai, who is laying here at my feet. And then everything else after that is basically just pantry staples. And then canned meats are the other thing that I do purchase. And then after that, it goes into basically the things that I would need to make, you know, a meal more flavorful or a dish authentic to, you know, a different type of cuisine. So, you know, it's basically a mini grocery store in here. I buy several cans of refried beans and some different, you know, sauces, chilies, jalapenos, hominy, you know, things so I can make some Mexican style dishes and then some Asian flavorings, and as well as some spaghetti sauce and roasted red peppers. And then if I'm going to drink a juice, it's typically going to be cranberry juice, though in the freezer I do have some orange juice, and as you saw up above, I have the apple juice. So anyhow, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit chaotic, these last couple videos, just because of everything is ramped up. There's so much going on. Due to my recent trip into Fairbanks, I'll be putting out some scenic drive videos, and I also will have a video coming up on my root cellar here in a couple of weeks as well. So stick around for that. I hope you've enjoyed these videos. Please leave a comment down below and let me know how your spring is shaping up. And I will see you guys on the next one. Come on, Kinnick. Move, go. Be sure to check out these other videos here.